examining triangle congruence in terms of rigid motion. So for the triangles below, use the tools to move the solid triangle exactly onto the dashed one. Then answer the parts below. So on the next screen, they're actually going to have a bunch of tools over here, and they use the words rigid motion. So we've talked about this in another video, actually 2 other videos now. Rigid motion has to do with transformations, and transformation just has to do with moving an object. There's 4 transformations, but there's only 3 of them that are rigid motion. So rigid motion means we're not changing the size. We're only moving the figure around. So first we can translate it, meaning we move it back and forth, move it up and down. So that's a translation. We also have what's called a reflection. So if I take my pencil and I just flip it over like this, and I didn't do a very good job there of just flipping it. Actually, here, I'll use my hands. This is a better one. So if I have my hands, here's 2 hands, and I want to reflect it, I just flip it. There's a reflection. And you can very clearly see that they are backwards from each other now. So my thumbs are on opposite sides. That's backwards. So that's a reflection. And then we also have a rotation. So again, if I take my hand and I just turn it, that's a rotation. And generally you have one point that doesn't move in a reflection here. So I'll have one point that we're kind of turning it on that point. And we'll see the tools over here. I'll show you what each one of the tools means when we get over there. And we're going to use the tools to take this shape, the blue shape, and put it right on top of the dashed line. What we do need to pay attention to is where do the points end up going so that we can actually map that and see how it works. And then we just say angle K, well, that landed right on top of, to me, this looks like it would be angle L. Let's see if we scroll down. So, yep, that's exactly where it lands. So, where are the answers down here? Oh, sorry, I was looking at D and L. So K looks like it would land on B. So we would turn it just a little bit, and then we're going to flip it over. So K would land on B. Looks like M lands on C, and L would land on D. So again, we're going to take the first one on this side. We're going to flip it over so that it matches. So it's kind of going in the same direction. And then we're going to rotate it just a little bit so that it's K and M is kind of crooked. So we want to straighten it up just a little bit. And then we do the same thing for the side lengths. Just which side length matched up to which one, which side length for the right triangle matched up to which side length for the left triangle. As long as you can match them all up, then yes, the triangles are congruent. So all 3 parts of the corresponding angles and all 3 pairs of corresponding sides are congruent. So if you answer no to these questions, or you couldn't match them up, then you would click no. So if you click no, the triangle is always going to be not congruent. And if you click yes, the triangle is congruent. You wouldn't say, oh yes, all the pieces match up, but it's not congruent. Well, if all the pieces match up, then they're the same size and shape, which makes them congruent. So it's just one of those things. They gave you a couple extras here to be tricky. All right, so let's go ahead and try this out. So this is my translation tool. Remember, translation just means move it around. So I want to click this one, and then I can move this piece around. The letters don't follow, so you have to make sure you're paying attention. So right now, B is on the bottom, C is on the top left, A is on the top right. So I'm going to move it over here so it looks like this, and then this tool is so that you can turn it like this. So that's my rotation tool, and these 2 are my reflection tool. So it depends. Do you want to flip it like this, or I'm going to try to do this on camera. Do you want to flip it down like that? So you just have to decide. So in this case, I want to flip it down. I'm going to click this one, and then I'm going to click translation again, and I'm going to bring it over. So A and C didn't really move. I just translated them. So if I can even put this right back on top like this. So C lands on Q, A lands on P. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to go A landed on P, C landed on Q, and then B was the one that flipped up, and that lands on R now. So now I need to match the side lengths. So remember AC, that was the one that's down here. So AC landed on PQ. And then because we flipped this up, BC landed on QR. And then this last one was AB landed on RP. So we do have to pay attention, or sorry, the PR, we do have to pay attention when we're flipping things around. Where do they land? So I was able to match all of these up, and they are in fact congruent. So I'm going to go down here. I know it's a yes, and the triangles are congruent. You wouldn't say yes, everything matched up. Oh, but the triangles are congruent. Again, they're just giving you extra information there to kind of be tricky. Okay, 2 more of these. So we're going to take this guy, and we're going to scoot it over, and it looks like I need to flip it and then maybe turn it. Oh, yep, okay. So keep in mind that when I flipped it, so I want to make sure, and I flipped it a little bit more. I didn't turn it quite all the way back, but G is on the top there. H is on the bottom left. So when I flip this and then I start turning it, this is G, and I'm turning it. So G looks like it's going to land right on Y. And then the corner now all the way in the right, this is H. So I flipped it completely over. So this is G, this is H, this is I. So now I'm just going to make it match. Boom. So G went to Y. H went to Z. And I went to X. So again, that's the hard part there, is making sure the more times you have to move it around and flip it, it's a little harder to follow. All right. So we know that G and Y match up. We know that, let's see, H matches Z. So GY, and we know H and Z. So we know it's going to be YZ for these two, because GH. So I can just match it. I can even go down here and I can go, well, G went to Y, H went to Z. So my line is ZY. I don't actually have to try to track it up here. So I can do that down here. I'll do that for this one. HI. So H is Z, I is X. So I know it's going to be X and Z. Did I write those backwards? I want to make sure I didn't write those backwards really quick. Hold on. So in HI, I flipped it. So this is HI. H. Hi. No, okay, I have it correct. I was a little worried because they put Z, XZ up here. And to me, that's a little backwards. Should be the other way. All right, so GI. So G was Y, I is X. So I know it's going to be YX. All right. Yeah, for some reason, they're putting them backwards because they put X first on these two. And to me, X should come second because it should be in the same order as they put it over here. So it should go ZX, it should go YX. I'm just being a little picky. So I was able to match everything up. So I'm going to click yes, and the triangles were congruent. Check. And yay, we get our points. All right. One more. So we're going to take this piece. I'm going to scooch it over here. I'm going to rotate it a little bit. So remember, this is what I'm grabbing right now. That's X. So I have X, Y, W, and it looks like I can just drop it right on top. I can. So X, Y, W. So let's see. W went to D. X went to E. And Y went to C on that one. Okay, so I'm going to use this up here to match instead of trying to go like this and match without the letters. So WX, W is D, X is E, so I know it's going to be D and E. XY, so X is E, Y is C. I know it's going to be E and C. W is D, Y is C, so it's going to be DC, sorry. I skipped right over it. I thought I was mixing myself up there. So it did in fact match. Everything is congruent, so the triangles are congruent. So check. And we got our third point there. So we're all done.